We are live. We are live. I'm Dr. Frita. Welcome to Dr. Frita Live. This is a live stream where we give you the latest trending medical headlines and celebrity health news. Y'all know we have all kinds of stories today. Let's start off talking about the sad story of Dawson's Creek's James Beek, who lost his life at the age of 48 to colon cancer. We'll talk about colon cancer, the risk factors, warning signs, and symptoms, and what you can do to prevent it when possible. And then we'll talk about Dr. Oz. Y'all know Dr. Oz. He used to be America's doctor. And then it looks like he did a bit of a 180 when he started standing up with this administration and speaking against the science. Well, guess what? It looks like he's done another 180. So he's come around for a full 360. And now he's actually, surprise, surprise, encouraging people to get the measles vaccine. And so we'll talk about his change of heart. Is it genuine? Does it matter? Is he telling the truth now? Yes, about the measles vaccine. So we'll talk about the measles outbreak, the benefits of the measles vaccine, and just some real facts of the matter when it comes to measles, including the fact that we were in elimination status. And now, as of last year, we had the highest number of measles cases that we've had in 30 years. And in over 95% of the people with measles, they're unvaccinated. Good morning. Then we'll play my favorite little game, myth versus fact. And today we're going to play it with Celine Dion. Yes, the vocal extraordinaire. You know, she's dealing with the illness, stiff person syndrome, which is pretty rare. Okay, it's a pretty rare condition. And so we'll break down some myths versus facts when it comes to this condition that she's living with and really trying to make a comeback from. And then we'll get into our second weekly dose of trending healthcare headlines that you just can't get anywhere else. And we'll talk about a Big Brother star, Libra Thompson, who actually had a stroke due to a hole in her heart. We've talked about this subject in general before, and we've talked about young people getting strokes. She's only in her 40s. And so we'll talk about what it means to have a hole in your heart. And really, we'll talk about the rising rate of strokes in young people between the ages of 18 and 44. And then we'll talk about Montell Jordan. This is how we do it because he's had a comeback. He is now cancer-free after being diagnosed with prostate cancer twice. I'll remind you of the warnings, signs, and symptoms of prostate cancer, who is at the highest risk, and what you can do for your screening. Now, of course, we are live here on Dr. Frita Live. And so you can ask me questions live, and I'm definitely going to ask you questions live. We will ask each other. So please go ahead and give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a follow as we get started, and share the wealth because we're about to have a power-filled show with evidence-based medical information. Let's get started. All right, welcome. I'm Dr. Frita. Welcome to Dr. Frita Live, where we talk about the latest trending medical headlines and celebrity health news. Hey, this is the President's Day edition. Womp womp. All right, you know I'm not doing this thing alone. Welcome to the stage to my office manager and co-host, Miss Shador. How you doing, Shador?
Hey, Dr. Frita. I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. A lot of traffic in the Atlanta area. Valentine's Day weekend, of course. And my niece, her cheer competition is always around, I guess, this weekend. So they had a cheer competition in Atlanta.
Did you get to go?
In traffic. Yeah. I did drop offs. So I dropped her and my sister-in-law off on Saturday. And I dropped them off on Sunday. They came in second, which is pretty good though. Out of 18.
Good.
So yeah.
Good. Okay, so she should be real proud of herself. Now, like she does the cheer, but doesn't she also do like the religious dancing and to kind of inspiration?
Yeah, she's into everything. Very talented.
She's multi-talented. I remember that baby was born. Oh my goodness, Shador, I've known you a long time. Yeah, but it's funny how these sports like the cheerleading don't care anything about Valentine's Day because Avery, my youngest daughter, my 9th grader, who's a freshman playing varsity basketball for her high school, well, she had a tournament on Valentine's Day and parents were out there as if they had no loves to be lost. And so, yeah, we had a pretty good weekend as well, pretty laid back. You know, I'm up a little north of Atlanta for the weekend, and so we didn't have too much traffic. But yeah. So I'll tell you whose week this past week wasn't necessarily so great. But of course, here on Medical Mondays, we go ahead and we use the headlines, whether they're happy or sad. When it's related to health, we take the headlines and we turn it into information that we can use to all live healthier, happier lives, while of course respecting those who aren't having such a good time. But before we get into this headline with James Vanderbeek, who was the first person in the chat today? What are y'all doing, chat?
Absolutely. Purple Onion in the first to chat today.
Hello, Purple Onion. Oh, I cooked with a purple onion last night. I sliced me an onion, some red pepper, and I had some rice and actually tried a different recipe. Some white meat chicken with Greek yogurt, some dill, some cumin, kind of mixed that up. It was and had some, I made my own little tzatziki sauce, like a Greek flavor, but always a red onion. Love red onions. Very good for you. Lots of antioxidants. All right, who else we got?
We have our members joining us today. Miss Marina is here.
Hi, Miss Marina.
Miss Sheila is here also.
Oh, Sheila. Hey, Miss Sheila.
Miss Andrea, hey, haven't seen you in a minute.
Hey, good to see you. I appreciate y'all for being members. Yes.
And Miss Deidre is here.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you, members. And listen, for you members, I do have members only videos. You know, I put those out throughout the week. And oftentimes when I do my short form content, y'all know I'm long-winded, so it's never really short form. So when I run over like 2 minutes, by 3 minutes, by 4 minutes, you get the full aspect for members. And then sometimes I just pop on and let y'all know what's going on. And then for all of my members of all tiers, I did a special video. It's a bit lengthy, but I'm really telling you some of my inner thoughts and just kind of thanking y'all for being members. So for all members, if you didn't see it last week, I have a member for all of you. And then if you are at the resident level, you always get the members only videos throughout the weeks. And then of course, for our chief residents, we have our live Q&A where you get to come and ask me questions. And instead of me doing all the talking and all the headlines, it's just about whatever's going on in your lives, whatever medical questions you have about yourself or even your loved ones. We drop a link, you can come on stage, and it's a really great time to access the knowledge that I have and I love to share. And for those of you who are new to us here on the Dr. Frita channel, I am Dr. Frita. I'm an MD, I'm a medical doctor, and I have been quadruple board certified. I'm a board certified nephrologist, meaning I'm a board certified kidney and high blood pressure doctor. I have also been board certified in internal medicine and in obesity medicine. I am board certified in obesity medicine. And so you definitely can come and find me and book a concierge telehealth appointment if you want to get started with your weight loss journey. And after I finished my dual med-peds residency at Georgetown University Hospital School of Medicine, I also earned my board certification in pediatrics. And so I love to learn. I read medical journals literally every day, articles, journals. It's fun for me. Does that make me a nerd? Anyway, I love to learn. And more importantly, I love to share my knowledge. And so I thank all of you for being here in the current, in the replay crew. And please go ahead and give us a like and definitely subscribe. We have hundreds of videos and I give you information in a way that is easy to understand and it can help you and your loved ones to live their healthiest, happiest lives. If you're going to see your doctors, if you have a condition, I talk about just about everything from A to Z. You name it. You put Dr. Frita in the topic, you're likely to find it. I'm serious. Okay. We got hundreds of videos. And then once you watch these videos, it allows you to pick up on certain terms, certain buzzwords. It gives you a good understanding. So when you see your doctor and you mention certain terms, they perk up because they know you're someone who cares about your health. You've researched your health and you're less likely to be overlooked or mistreated when you have a little bit of edge with the medical information I provide. All right. And we have over 965,000 subscribers. Thank y'all very much. Literally, thank you very much. So please, if you haven't subscribed, please do and help us get to 1 million. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. Let's talk about James Vanderbeek. So James Vanderbeek was an actor who was made most famous by the show Dawson's Creek. And he was diagnosed with colon cancer and we just lost him. He passed away at the age of 48. Okay. Look, he was a pretty cool looking kid. And by all means, he sounds like a pretty kind guy. He and his wife had 6 children. They had 6 children. And, you know, he talked about how some of the early symptoms, he had, like a bit of a change in his stools. And so I do want to talk about the signs and symptoms of colon cancer. In fact, what I want you to do, please put a blue heart in the chat. a blue heart. Blue's that colon cancer awareness color. And I want you to tell me what you think some of the warning signs and symptoms of colon cancer are. What are some of the signs and symptoms of colon cancer? Now, I'll tell you this. Oftentimes, by the time you get signs and symptoms, the colon cancer can be advanced. And so it is best if you pick up the colon cancer even before it becomes cancer. And you do that by getting screening. So let's talk about who's at risk for colon cancer. You're at risk for colon cancer if you have a family history, okay? Also, if you have some type of a genetic condition like Lynch syndrome or familial adenomatous polyposis, where just genetically you're predisposed to having multiple polyps, and these polyps can turn into cancer. Other things that can put you at risk: if you're a smoker, if you drink alcohol, even in moderate amounts, we're finding that alcohol use can put you at a high risk. If you have diets that are high in ultra processed foods, that can put you at risk. Diets that are high in red meat, that can put you at risk. Living with obesity can put you at a high risk for cancer. Also, if you have certain inflammatory bowel diseases like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, that can put you at a higher risk for colon cancer. And so make sure you consult with your doctor and you find out your risks and when you should be screened. Now, according to the American Cancer Society, most people, it's recommended now that you're screened by the age of 45. Back when I was in training, that age was 50, okay? Because another one of the risk factors for colon cancer is being older than the age of 50. But now we're finding that people younger and younger are starting to have increased rates of colon cancer. And so that age is 45 for you to get screened for colon cancer. What kind of screening should you do? Have the conversation with your doctor. Right now, the gold standard is still believed to be a colonoscopy, where literally the doctor takes a camera and they insert the camera into your anus, rectum, and they look all the way up through your large intestine. Okay. So they'll see your ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, rectum, and they're able to look at the walls of your colon, because if you have a polyp, which is an outgrowth from the inner lining of the intestines or of the colon, that polyp is oftentimes precancerous. Okay. It can be precancerous. And if you get your colonoscopy, then there's a great chance that if the gastroenterologist, the colon doctor, the GI doctor, if they're able to catch that polyp and remove it, well, now you've prevented colon cancer, okay? So the goal is to catch these early. Now, if you are at average risk and say you have no polyps and you get your screening colonoscopy at 45, then it'll vary. Consult with your doctor, but there's a great chance that you are recommended to get the colonoscopy every 10 years. If they find polyps, there's a great chance they'll have you come back every 5 years. And then if you have a strong family history, and certainly if you have ulcerative colitis, familial adenomatous polyposis, one of those high risks, they may have you do them every 6 months, every year. It depends. Consult with your doctor. But the great news is that colon cancer is often preventable. Now, when you think about some of the stars who've had colon cancer, so we're talking about James Van Der Beek right now, but we also lost Catherine O'Hara. And I know last week we talked about her having the situs inversus, where instead of her heart being on the left, it was on the right. Instead of her other organs being in the proper place, like her liver, instead of being on the right, it was on her left. That's not what took her away. That's an incidental finding, just something that was interesting that she lived with. She didn't know she had situs inversus until she was in her 40s. But what actually took her life was a pulmonary embolism. And she had an underlying diagnosis of rectal cancer. And having cancer, of course, is something that puts you at a higher risk for blood clots and pulmonary emboli. But yeah, so it's important to talk with your doctor, make sure that you get your screening. And for people who get colon cancer at really young ages, like we lost Chadwick Boseman, our Black Panther, at the age of 43, he passed away before he ever reached the age of being screened. And so that's when it becomes important to just also pay attention to your body if symptoms and signs are the things that bring attention to colon cancer. So let's see what y'all said, med heads. What do y'all say in the chat? What are some of the warning signs and symptoms of colon cancer?
Yeah, very active in the chat today, Dr. Frita.
All right.
I'm going to pull up TS hit many that some others share as well that I kind of flashed across the screen. So lower intestine pain.
Okay.
Change in normal stools for the person, any blood in the stool.
Very good. Very good. So definitely having blood in the stool. And in fact, one of the screening tests is a fecal occult blood. So a doctor can check for blood that even if you don't see it with your eyes, you can have blood that is hidden. That could be a warning of colon cancer. And then certainly if you see bright red blood or even black tarry stools. That can be a warning of colon cancer. You could get pain, especially if there's some blockage, some obstruction. And so, yes, that's true. And again, the goal is to catch the colon cancer before it even becomes colon cancer if you can get your screenings. But if you get these symptoms that you're mentioning as TS, then yes. Very good.
Another popular one is rectal bleeding.
Rectal bleeding, absolutely. And I imagine, with Catherine O'Hara, by the time her cancer became advanced, assuming it did, you would get bright red blood per rectum, and that could be from rectal bleeding.
Yeah,
very
that's
good.
from Lisa. Peace Oasis.
What's the name?
Peace Oasis.
Peace Oasis. Ooh, I like to go to a peaceful oasis. Very nice. What's that warning sign or symptom?
Constipation.
Constipation. Very good. Imagine if you have a tumor and it's narrowing your intestine or your rectum. It can cause a backup or constipation. Very good.
Miss Brandy.
Hi, Miss Brandy.
Rectal pain.
Rectal pain. And with that rectal pain, you can get the sensation that you have to have a bowel movement. But when you go to have it, nothing actually comes out, but you can get a spasming and rectal pain. That's something that can happen, especially with a rectal cancer. That can happen with colorectal cancer. Good.
All right. Theophilus, hello.
Hello, Theophilus. I love that name. How are you doing? Welcome back.
Eating wrong types of food.
Okay, so you're talking about one of the risk factors. So yes, eating wrong types of food can put you at risk, specifically diets high in ultra-processed foods and red meat. So you want to eat a diet that's full of fiber, that's full of leafy green vegetables, that's full of fruits. And make sure that after y'all finish watching this live, check out my video I have right here on this YouTube Dr. Frita channel on colon cancer explained. Yeah. So rest in peace to James Beek, to Catherine O'Hara, to, of course, Chadwick Boseman, some other celebrities who've had colon cancer. Greg Leakes, Nene Leakes' husband, he passed with colon cancer. Also, Natalie Dessau-Reid. She was an actor. She was a Black female. She was young when she passed away. I first was introduced to her in the movie Baps. I don't know. Put Baps in the comment, BAPS, all capital, if y'all remember that movie that Halle Berry did, where her co-star was Natalie Dessau-Reid, and she actually Natalie Dessau-Reid passed away from colon cancer. That movie just felt like a trip, almost like it was something that never really happened, but I sure watched it. Okay, Baps. All right. Well, thank you to your med heads. You never let me down with your participation. Please also don't let me down and give it a like. Please give a like. It really does make a difference. So if you can pause from what you're doing, pick up your smart device, your phone. If you're watching this on your TV, figure out how you can like on the TV, or go grab your phone and also make sure you share it. Share it in your WhatsApp. Share it in your group me. Share it in your group text. Just share it. Go tell us on the mountain. Let them know that we're here and we're giving evidence-based information. So yeah, give us that like and that share. All right. Can we talk about Dr. Oz? Let me tell y'all something about Dr. Oz now. Mehmet Oz. I was introduced to him, as many of us were, through the Oprah Winfrey Show. And y'all know I love Oprah. That's not a secret. And, he was a heart surgeon, a cardiothoracic surgeon. He had all the neat gimmicks and definitely gave a lot of evidence-based medical information on his show. Sometimes he said things that were controversial, like, oh, you can eat too much kale, and which technically is possible, but there would be a lot of salacious headlines. But for the most part, when he got started, I thought he was pretty neat, Dr. Oz. And one thing for sure, he was traditionally trained, and you don't just sit up and pass your different cardiothoracic surgery boards and, get to that reputable level without at least understanding the science. And one of the most basic sciences we have when it comes to medicine, vaccines. Okay. We know that life before vaccines, like before 1900, many children died before the age of 5. Yes, in this country, and many of the deaths were due to infectious diseases. Once we established soap and water and good hand washing, in addition to vaccines, we started seeing the cases and the deaths from diseases like measles go down, polio go down, smallpox. You don't even know what smallpox are, do you? Okay, you've never seen it because it's been eradicated. Why? Because of vaccines, okay? Diphtheria, pertussis, the whooping cough, hepatitis. We've seen cases go down dramatically, directly as a result of vaccines, okay? Cause and effect. The cause, given the vaccines, the results, the numbers have gone down in diseases. And we also know, and Dr. Oz was trained in this manner, and I know he knows, that the vaccines were safe. Well, with this new administration, and after, Dr. Oz got his position and he was dealing with RFK Jr., the head of Health and Human Services. Okay, side note, y'all, did y'all hear that RFK Jr. said that he used to snort la cocaína, las drogas? Okay, he used to snort that white pony off of toilet seats. I did a short on it. Okay, you can check it out on social media platforms. I will have it here on YouTube as well. Anyway, so once RFK Jr. was placed there and Trump was there, even though we saw that the cases of measles have been on the rise. In fact, we had more cases of measles in 2025 than we've had since 1991. Even then, when I saw Dr. Oz, and I would watch him very carefully, he would talk about eating in a healthy manner, taking your vitamins as ways to prevent the measles. And he didn't mention the vaccine. Ooh, I thought that was very shameful. But now that we're continuing to have measles cases, 2026 has hardly really gotten started well. And already we have at least 910 cases of measles. And now Dr. Oz is saying that we should get the measles. So let's go ahead and let's play this Dr. Oz clip. And I want y'all to put in the chat, just give me a nice little red heart and tell me some of the things that you do to prevent health issues with yourself and to encourage other people to take preventive measures in their health. How do you prevent disease in yourself and how do you encourage others?
Transparency. I do want to, before I let you go, ask you about a record surge in measles in the United States. South Carolina, for example, is currently reporting 800 cases. It's the worst outbreak since measles was declared eradicated more than 3 decades ago. Is this a consequence of the administration undermining support or advocacy for measles and other vaccines?
I don't believe so. We've advocated for measles vaccines all along. Secretary Kennedy's been at the very front of this.
Oh, movement. Come on.
No, he is. When the first outbreak happened in Texas, he said, "Get your vaccines for measles because that's an example of an ailment that you should get vaccinated against." What happened with the core schedule that was released in the beginning of last month was to say, listen, we look at what happened in Europe. In Europe, if you give people 80 different vaccine doses to take, people start.
But I'm specifically talking about measles here. I mean, you talked about RFK Jr., the group Children's Health Defense that he founded and ran up until 3 years ago, posted on X, despite the media's scare tactics, there's no reason to fear measles. Should people fear measles?
Oh, for sure. And we actually are pretty aggressive at CMS. We fund any vaccine you want to take. There will never be a barrier to Americans get access to the measles vaccine. And
as a doctor, your message to people about the measles vaccine
is? Take the vaccine, please. We have a solution for a problem. Not all illnesses are equally dangerous and not all people are equally susceptible to those illnesses. But measles is one you should get your vaccine.
Boy, he's backpedaling and he's popping. And I'm so happy that Dana Bash called him out on it. Because you heard her, she was like, come on, because RFK Jr. has been a clear vaccine skeptic, point blank, period. He's still been actively pushing the disinformation saying that the measles vaccine is associated with autism. It is not. He has not been encouraging people to get the measles vaccine. He's been a vaccine skeptic. RFK Jr. even stated, and he misquoted a scientist saying that perhaps Black people should get less vaccines because we have stronger immune systems. Now, you know what that can do. That can make a community that perhaps already is skeptical about vaccines get less vaccines and have a higher death rate. It's dangerous what he's done. Dr. Oz knows for a fact that RFK Jr. was not promoting the vaccine. So to watch him outright tell that lie and to see him get caught in real time, I was happy to hear it. I do hope that this is a turnaround for Dr. Oz because at least the information he's sharing right now at this second is accurate, that the measles vaccine does save lives. And so what do y'all say here in the good old chat? What kind of things do y'all do to encourage people to take care of their health? And, what do you do?
Jules.
Hi, Jules.
Mammogram every year, mandatory.
Very good. Very good. Preventive health, prevent breast cancer or to catch it early. Early detection is key. Good.
Queen Gina.
Hi, Queen Gina.
Routine checkups, good hygiene, trying to eat healthy.
Very good.
Carol. Hello.
Hi, Carol.
Doctor's visits. So making sure going to each doctor visit as scheduled.
Your appointments. Because let me tell you, it's easy to cancel them, push them back. How do I know? because life happens, you have an appointment, it's really not convenient. Plus, you don't really want to hear what the doctor has to say anyway. And so it's easy not to keep up with them. So something as simple as making a commitment to yourself to keep up with your doctor's appointments, that really is a great way to keep up with your health. So good.
Member Miss Sheila.
Thank you for being
She says, what grandparents use for us every year, a good cleaning out with cod liver oil.
Okay, so cod liver oil, that's interesting because it actually is high in vitamin D. We know that vitamin D not only helps you to absorb calcium in your intestines, which is good for strong bones, strong teeth, all of that. But we also now know that vitamin D, having an adequate vitamin D level, is something that can help with your immunity, help to enhance your immunity. And during the pandemic, during C-19, we found great correlations in people who were doing poorly with that infection and who had people who were doing poorly and even people who passed away from the lockdown from C-19, a lot of them had very low vitamin D levels. So we found a correlation between low vitamin D and perhaps a weaker immune system. And so that's something that a lot of folks did with the good cleaning out with cod liver oil. But in addition to that, I also do recommend seeing your doctors as well and, doing all the preventive health care. So good.
Yeah, absolutely. Super chat from Jenny, Dr. Frita.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. I really appreciate you. When y'all do that extra, just give us an extra wink, extra nod, like with the super chat. I really thank you.
Jenny says, love this channel and YouTube chicas. RFK Jr. and Oz are intentionally living in a dangerous, non-medical, crazy world where science doesn't exist.
And it's scary because for RFK Jr., I have to say, RFK Jr. is not a doctor. He's not a nurse. He's not a nurse practitioner. He's not a nurse's aide. He's not medical. Okay. But Dr. Oz knows better. And so I put more weight on Dr. Oz. And the big question is, do they get their vaccines? We've heard from RFK Jr.'s first cousin, okay, President JFK's daughter, said that he and his children got vaccinations. I don't know about Dr. Oz, but I bet money that he got vaccines. I do know about President Trump because we see it in his report that he gets his vaccines right down to the C-19 vaccine and the flu vaccine. We've seen that with our own eyes. And so it's important, and I always say it, watch what people do more so than you listen to what they say. If those at the top of our government, those who have the most information, the direct information from sciences, if they are the ones who are getting vaccines, regardless of what they're saying to you, pay attention to what they do and not to what they say. Also, just look at reputable medical organizations like, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Medical Association, the National Medical Association, the Association, American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. Look at physicians you trust, and you'll find that all of the physicians in these reputable organizations still support getting the vaccines. They are safe and they prevent disease. And if it weren't for the low there's been a big drop in the amount of people getting measles. Okay. So the uptake of the measles virus, the uptake of the measles vaccine, people getting the measles vaccine, that number has really dropped precipitously. And it's largely because of the misinformation. When people get conflicting information, their response is often to do nothing. Doing nothing would be like not getting vaccines. There have been more exemptions now than what we've had in the past. Here are some facts to remember when it comes to measles. Measles is one of the most highly contagious viruses, which is why when the vaccination rate dropped, the measles rates rise, and we had more measles in 2025 than we've had in 30 years. We know that if you are unvaccinated and you are exposed to measles, you have a 90% chance of getting the measles, okay? And measles is a virus that is quite sturdy. It can live a while. You can have the measles, be in a room, cough, sneeze, and blow your nose on things. You can leave the room, and the measles virus can still live for at least 2 hours after you're gone. Okay? 2 hours after you're gone. If you get the measles vaccine, if you get the 2 recommended doses, you have a 97% chance of not getting the measles. The vaccine is very safe. It's very effective. So please remember that. Please share this with people who are having some confusion about the measles, because it's not just a little, rash and a little fever. People pass away from the measles. Okay. It can make you very sick. You can get encephalitis and other complications, long-term complications. Okay. So I'm happy that Dr. Oz is now speaking the truth about measles vaccine. I'm glad he got called out in that interview when he tried to not tell the truth. And I'll still be optimistic. I hope that this administration has to change and that they'll choose science and not foolishness. All right. Go ahead and give us a like as we get moving. Another special thank you to my members here. And if you are not a member, you want to join the party, please do. Just click the link in our description. You can always visit my one-stop shop, drfrita.com. Again, we have all kinds of perks, especially these members-only videos. I might have done 3 or 4 members-only videos last week. I was just having a good time. And so if you're at the resident level or higher, you always get the members-only videos. And sometimes I give them to everybody. I gave some videos to all my members, which I do appreciate all of you. And of course, you get special emojis, special shout-outs, regardless of your level. And then if you're at that top level, chief residents, that's when you get our members only live Q&A. So go ahead, come on, join the party. It's just like, it's not even a whole cup of Starbucks coffee a month. Just come on.
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of Dr. Frita, new member, TE. Welcome.
Hey, TE. Thank you for joining. Welcome, welcome. All right, go ahead. Already you'll have access to some of these videos that we've done in the past. And I thank you for joining the community. Very good, very good. All right. I want to play a game. My favorite game. Myth versus fact. Okay. Y'all know good and well that Celine Dion can sing down to the ground. Okay. She is a true, pure vocalist. Okay. What auto-tuning? Okay. It doesn't matter. She doesn't need to be able to dance and drop and pop and lock. All she has to do is stand there and her voice speaks for itself. And oh gosh, I remember back when the movie Titanic came out, I would just listen to that song and I would just sing with her voice really loud, my voice really quiet, but I imagine her voice is my voice. Anyway, just very talented person. Well, we know that she came out in 2022 and shared that she was diagnosed with a really rare condition, something called stiff person's disease. They used to call it stiff man's disease. And it's rendered her with quite a bit of debilitating problems, including at one point an inability to perform, but she's on the comeback. Now, I want to give you a trigger warning. We're going to play a video and show you some of what she goes through with stiff person's disease. And then I'll come back and I'll share just so you have an understanding, because this is not something you're going to see every day. It's rare, but definitely worth talking about. All right, let's go ahead and play that clip.
We're going to go a couple more minutes. Okay. If nothing changes, we're going to give you the nasal spray. Okay. Celine, try to calm down. It's okay, Celine. Everything's okay. Celine, you've got all your team here. We're all with you. We're gonna go.
Okay. All right. Let's first do the questions for myth versus fact. And remember, I always call it a game, and I try to make things fun as we learn. But we know that even though we try to have fun here, there's nothing funny about what she's going through, and we're definitely rooting for her. But let's just go ahead with this myth versus fact so we can see what your understanding of some of the basic premises of stiff person syndrome are. Let's start off with statement number 1, please.
All right. There's currently no cure for stiff person syndrome.
All right. Put an M1 if that's a myth. Put an F1 if that's a fact. There's currently no cure for stiff person syndrome. Okay. Myth versus fact, statement number 2.
Stiff person syndrome is primarily a psychological condition triggered by anxiety.
Put an M2 if this is a myth, and F2 if this is a fact. And then we'll break it down. Pencils down, pencils down. All right. Shador, do we have any participants in the med head?
Absolutely. We're never short of participants.
Oh, good.
All right. Statement 1, to reiterate, there is currently no cure for stiff person syndrome. Overwhelmingly, Dr. Frita, we have facts across the board. We have Alicia. Alicia says a fact.
He says a fact. There's no cure. Okay.
KK says a fact.
K says it's a fact, but there's no cure. Okay.
Flapper Girl says a fact.
Flapper Girl says a fact also. Okay.
TS agrees.
That there's no cure?
Penny agrees as well.
Hi, Penny.
Anton.
Hey, Anton, welcome back.
Anton agrees also. Fact, Dr. Frita.
That there's no cure. Well, that's kind of gloom and doom. But you're right. It's a fact. There's no cure. Y'all, I hate that. There's no cure. So with stiff person's disease, it's really an autoimmune disease. You know, we've talked about those here on the channel. An autoimmune disease occurs when your immune system, your antibodies, instead of fighting bacteria, germs, viruses, the way that your immune system is supposed to do, it turns on you and your antibodies start attacking you. So the same way that an autobiography is a book that you write about yourself, an autoimmune disease is a disease where your antibodies attack yourself. Okay. And so that's what's happening with stiff person's disease. And the result is that you get symptoms that cause the body to have these tight spasms, okay, in the trunk, in the arms, in the legs. And it can even make you have falls or not react well when something kind of comes up where you would normally catch yourself. With the stiff person's disease, you'll be triggered, you'll spasm, and you won't be able to catch yourself, which could be dangerous because you can get head injuries, body injuries, fractures. And there are different triggers for the stiff person's disease, like loud noises. Now, imagine if you're a singer and you're putting on concerts where people are screaming and there's loud stimulation and lights and music. You can potentially get triggered for your whole career, right? And so, and also their emotional responses, certain things that cause emotional triggers or traumas, really bad news, really exciting, happy news, just random things can trigger you to go into spasms and not to have control of your body or your voice. And this is what Celine Dion has been living with, this rare condition. And sadly, as of right now, there's not actually a cure. There are certain treatments. There's certain treatments we can give, but there's no cure. Okay. All right. Myth versus fact statement number 2.
All right. Statement 2. Stiff person syndrome is primarily a psychological condition triggered by anxiety.
Okay. What do y'all say for this one?
All right. We have, I remember Ms. Sheila said it is a myth.
A myth. Okay. So you don't think it's just in your head, psychological. Okay.
Miss Aileen. Hello.
Hey, welcome, Miss Aileen. Always good to have you.
She says it's a fact.
It's a fact. You think it's kind of all in her brain, a psychological disease. Okay.
Mary says a fact.
Mary, you think it's a fact also that it's psychological.
Purple Onion says a myth.
A myth. All right, Purple Onion.
Sky's Limit says fact.
Okay. You think it's a fact. So we got a mixed bag on this one. Okay. So good. We have a good teaching point.
Sherry says a myth.
A myth. You don't think it's all in her head. Okay.
And Marina says a myth as well.
Hey, welcome back to y'all. Hi, Marina. Okay. And so this actually is a myth. Okay. It's not just a psychological disorder. Although I can see how maybe when I mentioned the fact that sometimes an emotional trigger can trigger it. I mean, I suppose you can think of that as psychological, but there actually really is an issue with the immune system that is causing an attack, okay? Causing you to have the stiffness of the trunk of the limbs, even not having the control of your voice. And so it actually is something that's physiological going on. And more evidence to support that is that even though there's not an absolute cure, one of the treatments that is helpful is IVIG. So in other words, when you give someone IVIG, something that can go and bind to the antibodies that attack you, that can help some of the symptoms to get better. And so it's not just a mental or psychological, it actually is a physiologic autoimmune disease, similar to how sometimes diabetes can be autoimmune, pernicious anemia can be autoimmune, vitiligo can be autoimmune, certainly lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. And so there's a physiological, biological component. It's not just in your head. Yeah. So I'm glad we did that one. Okay. Because like I said, it's a rare disease. I don't expect you to know. But when we come here for the Dr. Frita Live, for our Medical Mondays, I always want to leave you with something so you can take away a little more than what you came with. All right. Thank y'all for participating. Please make sure you give us a like to everyone who's coming in. Come on in. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Give us a follow. We are here. Here on the Dr. Frita channel, we have over 965,000 subscribers. We work very hard to give you evidence-based information, not just in this live that we do every Monday, I have hundreds of videos, including one I just dropped last week on heart health, okay, which we're about to get into heart health with this next story. All right, listen, Big Brother. And I know that my mama and my sister used to really watch Big Brother, but one of the Big Brother stars, Libra Thompson, actually shared that even though she's still in her 40s, she had a stroke. She had a stroke from a hole in her heart. So let's go ahead and play this clip, and then we'll talk about strokes in young people and what it means to have a hole in your heart or patent foramen ovale. And oh, actually, I don't even think that we don't have a clip, but that's okay. I'll tell you what happened. So she's someone who was a Big Brother star, and she was at a conference, as she describes, and she was having some symptoms, and as it turns out, she actually had a stroke. And her stroke was not the run-of-the-mill stroke that you get. She actually, are y'all still able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Dr. Frita.
Okay, good deal. So we think about strokes in people who are older than the age of 50, who have all types of risk factors like high cholesterol or high blood pressure or smokers or things of that nature. But for her stroke was due to something called a patent foramen ovale. She had a hole in her heart. And I want y'all to put in the chat, give me a heart emoji, give me a broken heart. Y'all know I love my emojis. Give me a broken heart if you can tell me someone else that we've talked about on this live. Yeah, let me see which medheads have been watching. Tell me someone else who in his 40s actually had a stroke due to a hole in his heart from a patent foramen ovale. And you might even mention someone we haven't talked about on this show. At any rate, she had a hole in her heart. So what in the world does that mean? Well, we all have holes in our hearts when we are first being, created. When you're a fetus, before you're born, you have a hole in your heart. And if you look at this diagram here, you'll see, you have your bottom two chambers of the heart, the ventricles. You have your top two chambers, your atria, okay, your right atrium and your left atrium. And in between, in that wall, in that septum, before you're born, you have a foramen ovale, and that's open, and that's a way that the fetus, okay, the unborn baby, can get proper circulation. The fetus is not actually breathing, himself or herself. And so at that point, you're getting all of your oxygen through your mother's blood supply. And so there's certain dynamics in the heart that are proper before you're born, but they're improper after you're born. So having a hole in the heart, the foramen ovale, is proper before you're born. But after babies are born, they take in that oxygen, and shortly after birth, that hole closes. But if it doesn't close, then you have what we call a patent or an open foramen ovale. And interestingly, we know that 1 out of every 4 adults has a patent foramen ovale. Okay, about 25% of adults that will have a hole in the heart, and most adults do fine. They have that hole in their heart. They keep it moving. It might be picked up as a murmur, but it doesn't necessarily cause a major problem until it does. And here's one of the problems that it can cause. If you happen to get a blood clot, okay, so you have a small blood clot in your leg and it travels up in your heart and it goes up through the right side of your heart. If you have a patent foramen ovale, that blood clot can go from the right atrium to the left atrium, which can then lead it to the arteries that go to your brain, and you can get a blood clot. And it sounds like that's what happened with her. And so even though she's young, whether she had a high risk factor for a stroke or not, even if she's not a smoker, even if she didn't have high cholesterol, typically what would happen if she didn't have that hole in her heart, then maybe a tiny little blood clot would get filtered somewhere, between the heart and the lungs before it had a chance to get to the brain. But bottom line, having a patent foramen ovale puts you at a high risk for having a stroke. And it happens to other young people as well. Did anyone, I know this is what I'm really going to know. Did anyone else remember who had a hole in their heart? What young man? Oh, they did. Who?
A couple people said Childish Gambino or Donald Glover, Miss Star.
Absolutely. Who knew that? Hold on.
Star said it, and Sherry.
Come on up to the front of the class. Absolutely. And so after you finish this live, just go right here in the YouTube search bar, put in Dr. Frita, Donald Glover, or Dr. Frita, Childish Gambino. And I really do a nice, detailed, short content on what a patent foramen ovale is. And I talk about signs and symptoms of a stroke there. But I have it in a nice kind of bite-sized form that you can share with other people as well. So with Libra, Mhm.
Valerie shared Brett Michaels.
Okay, now that's someone I didn't know about. That's someone who had a hole in their heart.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's saying Brett Michaels.
Okay. And we know that 1 out of 4 adults have one, but most do fine with it. But yeah, with Libra Thompson, but yeah, the one I was talking about was when I actually did the short on Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, and he seems to be doing well as well. His initial symptoms were he had a headache and he had blurry vision. Okay. And those are 2 of those symptoms. And you'll recall, if you should remember that acronym BEFAST, BEFAST. If you get balance problems for the B, E for eye trouble or like blurry vision, F for facial weakness, like a facial droop for the F, A, arm weakness or leg weakness, S, slurred speech or strange speech, then T, it's time to call 911. The most important thing to remember is not to ignore these symptoms. You can always say, oh, maybe I slept wrong, or maybe I need new contact. You can come up with a million reasons for why you're having these symptoms. But what you want to do is make sure you rule out the one reason that could potentially take your life, and that's a stroke. But yeah, so it looks like she's doing pretty well, and she's speaking out and sharing her story. Just make sure that you're up to date with your doctor's visits, and if you're having any stroke symptoms, that you definitely pay attention. When your doctor listens to your heart, look, my patients do this to me sometimes. It catches me off guard. They say, "What'd you hear, doc?" I'd be like, "Huh?" I'd be like, "Oh, well," and I start breaking it down. I tell them I hear, sound 1, sound 2. Maybe if I heard a murmur, I'll usually tell them. I will tell them if I've heard a murmur. But I'll just talk to them about the different heart sounds. But sometimes that'll make a doctor go back and say, "What? What do you?" And they'll go listen again. And if they heard a murmur and share with you, then say, "Hey, what do you think that murmur means? Do I need to have an echocardiogram?" In other words, kind of see what you can do to be proactive and preventive. Be your own advocate when you go and you see your doctors. Okay. All right. Well, please go ahead and continue to give us the like. If you have not given us a like, give us a subscribe. And make sure, again, you check out after you finish this live. I did drop a video in one of my long form contents about heart disease, because, of course, we're still in February. It's Heart Disease Awareness Month. And I had gotten a lot of questions, Shador, a lot of questions and comments when I did the Ray J videos, when he said that his heart was only functioning at 25%. And I really had people asking, like, the life expectancy of if you have congestive heart failure. And we know that Kid from Kid and Play, Christopher Reed, shared that he had a heart transplant. So I had a lot of questions. So I went back and did a video where I give you some details on heart failure, life expectancy, prevention, treatment. And so I really hit a lot of questions that some of my viewers had. So thank you all. When you're active in the comments, I do pay attention. And when I see a lot of folks asking questions, I'm like, okay, we have another learning opportunity. So check out that video after you finish this live, please. All right. And now let's talk about some good news. I love a little piece of good news. Montell Jordan, the singer. This is how we do it. We know that he's been very open. He shared when he was diagnosed with prostate cancer the first time. Okay, he had stage 1 prostate cancer. And then he declared that he was cancer-free. He was. And then he was diagnosed with prostate cancer again. So it looked like he had perhaps a recurrence. I don't know if it was, a brand new occurrence or if it was a recurrence, if it was a spread or a seeding. Either way, he had the diagnosis again. And now he's sharing that he's cancer free. So let's play this clip and then we'll talk a little about prostate cancer.
Well, we have a really great update to a story we shared with you a few months ago. R&B star and local pastor Montell Jordan is officially cancer-free. Jordan first revealed his early-stage prostate diagnosis in January 2024. In November of that year, he had his prostate removed, but the cancer returned a few months later. Jordan has been chronicling his health journey in a documentary called Sustain. Here's a clip from our interview earlier this year about it.
1 in every 8 men are going to be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and 70% of those men are going to be African American.
Right, I'm
They
glad
don't look
you
like
said
me.
it. Right.
And so because of that, and it's treatable, we felt like we needed to tell the story and to start documenting it. I did not feel like there was something there for me to look at, like, how do I tell my kids? How do I tell my mom? How do I tell my 12-year-old daughter? There was not a handbook.
Montell Jordan is now a 2-time cancer.
That's awesome. I really like him. And, here in the Atlanta area on Easter mornings, there's a sunrise service on the top of Stone Mountain. Okay. And my family and I, we've been several times. And one of the times, as they mentioned, he's a pastor. He actually did the preaching there. And it was very good. It was really inspirational. It was positive. I just, I remember it very well. And sometimes when you have people who are celebrities, I know they get tired of people gawking at them. They don't feel like it. They get their little money. They got paid for their appearance. But I remember that he and his wife were actually very warm and inviting, and they just kind of stood out in the open and welcoming of people going up, taking pictures. And I really appreciated that, because really all he had to do was go preach, and then he could have jetted off or pretended he had something else to do right away. But he was really in the spirit, and I felt that there was something very genuine about him. So I just want to kind of share that as an experience with Montell Jordan. And I'm just really happy that he's cancer-free now. I know it's a little frightening since he was cancer-free before. He's cancer-free now, but I just like how he comes to the forefront and he gives those statistics. So we're going to talk a little bit more about prostate cancer right now, but I want you to put in the chat, let's put some music notes. Okay, put some little music notes in the chat and answer this question. In the spirit of this is how you do it and of the positive attitude of Montell Jordan, I want you to tell me one positive thing you've done for your health recently that you're proud of. Name one positive thing you've done to improve your health recently that you're proud of. And I like to ask questions like this because sometimes what you do, even if it doesn't even seem like a great big deal to you, you don't know. What you put in this chat might be just a thing to encourage someone else to take another step for their health. So let's talk a little about prostate cancer. And we know that we just talked last week about our Sanford and Son star who played Lamont, how he passed away with prostate cancer. And we've had a whole lot of other people, as you know. But what Montell Jordan shared was that Black men are disproportionately affected. That's a fact. And Black men are anywhere from 70 to even 90% by some statistics more likely to get prostate cancer and more than twice as likely as die when compared to white men. That's a fact. And what that means is that all men need to be very proactive when it comes to prostate cancer screening. They need to be proactive because prostate cancer is the second most common cause of cancer. It's second only to skin cancer. And it's just very prevalent, okay? Not just among Black men. We know that our President Biden is right now dealing with stage 4 prostate cancer, with metastatic prostate cancer as well. And it's recommended that you start having the discussion with your doctor about screening no later than the age of 40, at least have the discussion. But as far as recommendations, if you are of average risk, then by no later than the age of 50, have the discussion and, start to get screened for prostate cancer. You have a shared decision making with your physician. If you are at high risk, then it's recommended that by the age of 45. And listen to me, if you are a Black man and you hear the sound of my voice, automatically you are considered to be at least at high risk. Okay. I don't care if you never had a family history of prostate cancer. I don't care if you feel fine. I don't care if your urine is flowing like the Nile River. If you are a Black man, you are considered to be at least at high risk. And it's recommended that you have the discussion about prostate cancer screening by no later than the age of 45. You are also at high risk, and this is to all the men, folks. You're also at high risk if you have at least one family member who was diagnosed with prostate cancer younger than the age of 65. Okay, at least one first-degree relative. And so by first degree, I mean 1 degree of separation. Like if your father was diagnosed younger than the age of 65, or if you have a brother who was diagnosed. And when I'm talking about prostate cancer, I'm talking about everyone who was born as a man. Okay, if you have a prostate, I'm talking to you. All right, and then you're considered to be at very high risk if you have 2 or more relatives who were diagnosed with prostate cancer younger than the age of 45. So you might have a father and a brother, or you might have 2 brothers who were diagnosed younger than the age of 45. For you, it's recommended that by no later than the age of 40, you have the discussion about getting some prostate cancer screening. And so that could be the PSA, prostate specific antigen. That's a blood test. And if it's over 4, then it's automatically abnormal. But also, depending on your age and your risk, if it's over 2.5, that may trigger your doctor to do more screening, such as a prostate MRI. I've actually been having really good success from patients who I send to get prostate MRIs as a screening tool, also their prostate ultrasounds. And, we do definitely have treatments. The key is the earlier you detect it, the better. The earlier the detection, the better the chance of surviving and having a full life, because it's actually a slow growing cancer, but you don't want to play around with it. Definitely face the music, consult with your doctor, get prostate screening as recommended. And the fact of the matter is, again, if you're a Black man, you are more likely to get prostate cancer at a younger age with a more aggressive stage, and you are twice as likely, Black men, to pass away when compared to white men. All right. So let's pop back up to a positive note. All right. Do any of the med heads, anyone in the chat, talk about just something positive you've done for your health that you're proud of? What you got? What you got?
Absolutely, Dr. Frita. Erica.
Hi, Erica.
Erica shared, I got a puppy for companionship and also to encourage me to have to walk every day. When I first got her, I could only do around the block. Now we're up to 1 mile a day.
I'm very proud of you, and I'm proud of your puppy. Do you know that there are literally scientific studies showing that when you have animals such as puppies, such as dogs, they can actually help to lower your blood pressure, help to lower stress. When you're petting these animals, it can help to release some of these endorphins, some of these positive hormones, and help to dilate blood vessels, decrease some of the cortisol, decrease some of the stress. And of course, walking with your puppy is good for your puppy and it's good for you. So that's pretty awesome. Something you did for yourself, something for your health, and a nice little furry friend. Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
Absolutely. Remember, Miss Sheila.
Hey, Miss Sheila.
Says eating right. So
eating right. Very good. And it's tricky sometimes to eat right. Ask me how I know. Do y'all see these Girl Scouts? They're on every corner. And my son makes me sick. We pulled up to the store, Girl Scouts everywhere. Okay, I felt infiltrated. And see, when I'm by myself, I run and I hide because I know how I am with Girl Scout cookies. Child, this boy went and bought like 6 boxes of cookies. Do y'all think I've touched those cookies?
Yes.
I have, but I'm doing better. It's a problem. I'm just being honest with you. And no shade to Girl Scout cookies, but those things are ultra processed and not healthy for you. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. But yeah, trying to eat right, doing mostly leafy green vegetables. If you do leafy green vegetables like spinach, kale, arugula, these have that chlorophyll, which can help your body to detoxify naturally. It aids in the liver's detoxification, aids in the kidney. Also eating fruits and vegetables, especially ones that are loaded with antioxidants like berries. Strawberries are one of the most nutrient-dense fruits we have. They're loaded with antioxidants. So are blueberries, blackberries, raspberries. Okay. So y'all just check out my videos when you get off the line. I have all kinds of videos on health. If you specifically have kidney disease, and y'all know I'm a board certified kidney doctor, then I have a video where I talk about 15 foods to help improve kidney health. I also talk about the truth about kidney detox. Okay. I debunk a lot of myths. And very importantly, I give you fruits and vegetables that actually do help your kidneys to filter better. So eating better, Miss Sheila, that's an awesome thing that you're doing for yourself.
Absolutely.
All right.
Carol, exercise. So exercise just in general.
Get it. Good. Exercise in general. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Valerie says going to bed earlier.
Very good. Ooh, Valerie, listen to me. Okay, so for the exercise, of course, according to the American Heart Association, it's recommended that most people exercise for at least 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week, 150. So you can split that up 30 minutes, 5 days a week. And that is recommended for improving your heart health. And it can also get endorphins popping. I have a video, you can check it out after finish this live, on top 10 exercises to help you to lower your blood pressure naturally. And then we talk about sleeping. Do I have it here? Well, I have it here. I do. I have a short here for when you're finished on night owls. There was a study that was released by the Journal of the American Heart Association that night owls, okay, people who were up all night, tended to have a higher risk for cardiovascular disease. So make sure you're getting your proper sleep. 7 to 9 hours for most people of uninterrupted quality sleep is something that's recommended. So that's really good. Getting enough sleep can help with your health. Good.
Absolutely. And then I remember Miss Elaine.
Hi, Miss Elaine. Thank you for being a member.
Miss Elaine shares, I did an herbal full body detox, drinking more water, eating better, and exercising.
Very good. Very good. And just remember, for the detoxes, it's going to vary. There's no magic detox pill. There's no magic, voila, here's a powder, I'm finished. But there are lots of foods and activities that you can do to help your body to, like helps your kidneys to filter better. And again, chlorophyll that you can get, you don't have to take chlorophyll pills. You could just eat the leafy green vegetables that I mentioned. That would help your own body to detoxify better. So very good. Yeah. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, I certainly thank y'all for joining us here on this Dr. Frita Live. We had some good talks today, some good learning, I do believe. We talked about the colon cancer. And do y'all know Sharon Osbourne also had colon cancer? So did Audrey Hepburn. So did the creator of Peanuts, Snoopy. Charles Schultz had colon cancer. Katie Couric's husband had colon cancer. So we're not just talking about people who are at the end of the road, at the end of life. It can happen to a lot of people. So remembering to do the colon cancer prevention. One thing I did want to mention, Cologuard, that DNA test, that is another way, in addition to the colonoscopy, screening for colon cancer. Colonoscopy is still the gold standard. But if you do that Cologuard, that stool test, talk to your doctor. If you have an abnormal one, then it's recommended that you get a colonoscopy. And it actually does have a pretty decent sensitivity. There was one study done of 10,000 patients between the ages of 50 and 84, and it found that the Cologuard test picked up colon cancer 92% of the time in general, and 94% of stage 1 and stage 2 cases of colon cancer. And so if you need that colon cancer screening and you are dealing with somebody, especially some of these folks who are just scared of colonoscopies, talk to your doctor about other options like the Cologuard. Look, something is better than nothing, and those tests are pretty good. But if it's positive, it's still recommended that you get the colonoscopy. I just wanted to throw that out there as another option. But yeah, so make sure that you share this again for those folks who weren't off for President's Day. They might not get a chance to watch this, but they can watch it in the replay crew. Replay crew, I appreciate you. Again, make sure that you join our membership. You want to be a part of us. What you got, Shadora?
Dr. Frita, common question that came across by several people.
What?
And I'll pull up, I remember Miss Sheila. Basically the measles vaccine. If you've had it before, do you need to get it again? So that's been asked by several people.
Very good, very good. So 2 doses of the measles vaccine is believed to give you 97% protection. Now, if you're someone who's been living on this good earth a little longer, so if you were, for example, born before 1957, then most people, not all, but most people born in the United States before 1957 have actually had the measles disease, the infection. And so if you have had the infection, then you don't need to get it again. Now, there could be some rare situation if you have chemotherapy, if you're immunocompromised, but you typically won't have to have it. But here's the surefire way to know. Go to your doctor and ask your doctor to give you a blood test to see if you still have immunity to the measles. Okay, it's a simple test. Go to your doctor, ask them to give you a blood test. What your doctor will probably do is ask you some questions, figure out the year you're born, figure out if you ever had it, and they may figure out whether or not they actually have to do the test or not. But that's kind of the one absolute way. Ask your doctor to do the blood test to see if you are still immune to the measles. Okay. But for most people, if you've get 2 doses of the measles vaccine, there's a 97% chance that you won't get the measles. Yeah. Good question. Good question. All right. All right. Y'all give us a like on your way out the door, a like, a subscribe, a follow. Make sure you check out my book, Under Pressure, A Guide to Controlling High Blood Pressure. I got some exciting news about that book coming up soon and very soon. Ha, 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 ha. But that's a way where we talk about not only using food as medicine, but also using medicine as medicine. You know, we do integrative medicine here. And make sure that y'all check out our short form content right here on Dr. Frita Live and on other social media platforms. And remember, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms because I do give different information on different platforms. Those of you who are on some of the other ones, you'll notice that I gave y'all a lot of short form content this weekend. I was just feeling it. I don't even know, but I gave y'all a lot of good medical information. Okay. And also when I'm doing different national news shows and I'm on the Don Lemon show, which I've been on his show frequently when I'm on News Nation, Paternity Court, you know, you'll see different announcements on some of the social media platforms. And right here, if y'all want to see what I'm like on TV, then go to your playlist right here in YouTube, the playlist that I have, television appearances, and you'll see me on 11 Alive, NBC. You'll see me on the local CBS, Atlanta News First. You'll see me on the Portia Show, and all kinds of television appearances, and they're quite fun, especially these paternity court ones. Those are fun too. All right. I thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. We will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat place, right here on Dr. Frita Live. We talk about all of the latest trending medical headlines and celebrity health news. And I thank you for making Monday your healthiest day of the week.